Well, here we are, another stop on the journey to finding hope, inspiration, and positivity in this crazy world we all live in. You are listening to Changing the Perspective podcast. If you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel and like this video below. If you are listening on a podcast service, please like our podcast on your preferred service. No matter how you choose to hear this interview, we are grateful you are following us on this journey. New interviews will be released weekly and cover a variety of topics that all bring a situation of struggle that end in positivity. Maybe you can relate to an interview topic, or maybe you just need some hope and inspiration. Either way, enjoy. Hey everyone, welcome to a great interview we have with Stacie Johnson. She's actually a certified hypnotherapist, and today I'm actually bringing her on for a couple reasons. One, she's related to my husband. And as I was starting this journey of podcasting and trying to decide what direction I want to go, she started showing up on my Facebook page often, and Marty and I started talking. And he said, I think she would be great. She would bring a different perspective to what you're doing. And we reached out and she's here. So I'm super excited about that. Second, I've realized that the approach to healing and recovery, and no matter your situation, is not a one size fits all thing. And I want to be able to offer all kinds of perspectives. And she has a different perspective than the typical counselor or, support group type system. So we're super excited to have you here, Miss Stacie. I'm glad you decided to join us. So why don't you tell us why you started as a hypnotherapist?
Thank you so much for asking me. Really, this is an honor. I'm purely grateful. Hypnotherapy it came along part of my journey of healing. Most of us have a healing story of something, various things, whether it is you were bullied when you were younger, you've been physically, sexually, emotionally abused throughout, at a time, or it could honestly be all the above. Horrible relationships, passive aggressive relationships. So I used to have extremely, and I want to say debilitating anxiety from all those little things that in the psychology world they would call traumas. So they truly are, but sometimes when you say the word trauma, it seems like it has to be this massive thing instead of really growing up with maybe a poor body image because, maybe you were extra curvy because that was unusual for girls your age to be that curvy that early. So therefore it became like almost a bullying situation. So trauma, but it's still trauma to you. Yeah. It causes anxiety and it causes these things. So for me, growing up, I was extremely shy until I came into a situation where I no longer was. Didn't have a choice. I had to come out of that box, Lots of events happen, as a teenager. So it's like, okay, well, I've got to start speaking up. And I wasn't taught how to speak up, how to really voice my opinions and the way I feel about things in a healthy way. And then what happened is I eventually shut down. And what that does is it builds into anxiety, eventually some depression and all these things. And I tried lots of things growing up, and I've always been very drawn to mindfulness, even though I grew up in a very rigid religious home. That caused some of the anxiety too. And that's not saying that's bad, but that's what it did for me. Yeah. And it's because then you have that guilt that comes with it, and it's like, okay, everything wrong. Fast forward, as an adult, I decided to take things into my own hands. It's not other people's responsibility to make sure I'm happy. It's not other people's responsibility to make sure, my life is going the way I want it to go. And those were some hard lessons, because to do that, you really have to be willing to be self-aware, and you have to be willing to look at those dark places of you that you're going to be like, this is really uncomfortable and it's a little painful. And I don't know. So then you become this back and forth, and then you think you're moving forward, and then the old paradigms start to play their role in your mind again. And then the anxiety creeps back out. So after in my adult years, I chose to seek out a therapist, even though it's like, oh my God, you're going to therapy. Yes, I'm taking care of my mental health. I go for a physical exam every year. I see my gynecologist every year. I'm taking care of my physical body. Why would I not take care of my mental health? Mm-hmm. We take care of our spiritual health in various capacities, whether you attend church or you do other things or whatever your spirituality looks like, you're still taking care of your spiritual health. And we take care of our physical health, but we always what about the mind? Mm-hmm. It is so important because the mind is it impacts your physical and your spiritual well-being. So and at first, when I first started going to therapy, talk therapy, I was like, I didn't want anybody to know. I'd make excuses like, I'm going to go talk to somebody to help me learn, blah, blah, blah. Not letting them know outside of my husband that I'm getting therapy for my anxiety. And what was the final straw for me to seek out help is I remember one night, and my husband is one of the most kind-hearted people you would ever meet in your life. We've been together 7 years, and he's so laid back, and we're getting ready to leave one night, and I'm in there putting on my makeup and I'm doing my hair, and he comes in there and just standing there watching me. And all of a sudden, anybody who has anxiety knows what this feels like. You start to feel this thing well up in your gut, and then it starts pulsating in your chest. And then all of a sudden now your ears are ringing and you're sweating, and then you can feel the emotions are about to just go and everything kind of narrows in. And I just started crying, and I turned around and I looked at him. I'm like, I'm trying to hurry up. Mm. And he was shocked. The look on his face was like, I just like watching you do your makeup and hair. I just came in here to visit with you. I wasn't rushing you. And at that moment, I was like, oh, this is all me. I have to take responsibility for my actions. Holy crap. It's not that we don't take responsibility for our actions, and some people don't. But I've never been one of those people to think that it's my environment or my parents, or this thing is they seal my fate. They don't. I determine my fate. I determine my outcome. So this was that trigger for me, is like, oh, I have not dealt with this one.
Yeah.
So I did seek out, and I talked to him about it. He was fully supportive. I did start talk therapy, and I did the 6 sessions that's allowed in your normal EAP programs that sometimes are available with corporations.
Yep.
And it helped to a degree. And I kind of let it go aside for a little bit. And then I decided, I need to try this again. So I found another therapist that I felt was more in line with me, because the first therapist did explain to me that I have PTSD. I'm going to say I had, because I don't really claim it anymore. Yeah. With everything I'd gone through, it made sense. But so I found a new therapist, and about 2 sessions in, she's like, have you ever considered hypnotherapy? Mm. What is it? All I know is what I've seen on TV. Yeah. Where people, they do that like Shallow Hal. You've seen that movie. And I'm like, now that I'm a hypnotherapist, I'm like, oh, great. But certain movies like that where they demonstrate hypnotherapy, that's not, it is, but it's not.
Right.
And so I was like, at this point, I was desperate. I'm like, I need to do something. My mental health needs a break. I've been on medications for anti-anxiety, and to the point that my anxiety was so severe, I had to start taking stomach medication because it was causing me physical issues. This tells you how powerful your mental health can have on your physical health. I had to deal with physical problems after that. 2 sessions. 2. I have been anxiety medication free for 3 years now.
Wow. That's fantastic.
I left and I was like, I don't need it. And I got cold turkey. I'm not saying people should do that. Don't do that.
Not recommended, actually.
Why? I mean, but for me, I knew what was right for me. Yeah. So I'm not saying people go stop taking your medication. No. But because I think you should work with your mental health coincide with your physical health, with your
Yeah.
PCP, or if you are under the direction of your psychiatrist, psychologist, whomever.
Right.
And I think they can all work very well together. And for me, that was the most liberating thing I experienced in, 40 something years of my life at that point.
Yeah.
And it was powerful. And at that moment, I'm like, okay, let's see how this is going to last. Because I was still a skeptic, even though it was exciting. And then, that was in January. By the time I stopped in March, I'd met my first mindset coach, who's also a spiritual coach, because I also do mindset coaching. And I worked with her a little bit, and she's like, Stacie, you need to do this. You are a natural at just really seeing people and where they are and not judging. And I'm like, I don't know about this. So I did. I started my business that June. And then through that, I also from her learned tapping. I don't know if you've ever seen that emotional freedom technique. That's a discussion for another time, but it's another technique to throw out there because it is powerful. It really is. And I started using it and started looking at, self-hypnosis stuff. And I was still seeing my hypnotherapist. And then in one of the tapping sessions, I saw an interview of Grace Smith, which is Grace Smith's hypnotherapy school out of Vero Beach, Florida. Okay. And I saw her interview for her school, and I'm like, I need to do this. You ever felt that thing where you're like, oh, that's me. I need to do it. People need to know how powerful this is. This is not your mind control. It's not truth serum. It's not, it's not sleep. And though it can help you sleep, it helps me sleep every night. But there's so many myths around it. And I knew how powerful and how much of an impact it had on my life. Because at this point, it's like 8 months and I had not taken any medication. I needed it. Yeah. And I wasn't substituting with anything else. It was just that. And even my husband and my family was noticing this difference in me because I was coming like more out. I was able to show more of myself because I wasn't hiding as much. I wasn't shoving as much of that stuff down, because what hypnotherapy does, it peels back this layer and layers and layers of stuff. And that's what I like to tell my clients. It's like, here's what you need to understand. You were born absolutely perfect and beautiful the way you were born. That's it. You're perfect. What happens is life happens. And it happens to all of us, and to some to a bigger degree than others. But it piles all these things upon us. That's not really us, our true essence. And that perfect, beautiful person is still there. Hypnotherapy peels it back. And some of it we don't even know is there. Yeah. Because we've hidden it. We've stuffed it away. Yeah. So hypnotherapy for me has peeled back each of those layers. So I can become more and more my true self, whatever that looks like for me and for no one else. And I think that because I'm happier, people around me are happier because they actually get to really know who I am now. Yeah. And this is something that's allowed me to go and help other people. The course was like 250 hours. Wow. It was there. I wrote more papers in that school than I have written in my college career thus far. So I'm telling you that, yes, there are programs that you can go and you can get a weekend certificate. I'm so glad I trained under Grace Smith because she's been doing this for 10 years and she is so powerful and so good with her methods. And I'm glad I learned her method, and now I can take it and use that information. And I've helped other people since then. I see here, it's been August since that year. So yeah, I have been doing this for a couple of years now, and I love it. And when I get to see my clients like light up, because they're like, they get their own answers. I'm not giving you any answers. I'm guiding you through the process. Yeah. So you know your answers. I don't know your truths. But by taking you into that state, that part of the brain, that subconscious level, you can find your own answers. It doesn't matter what spirituality path you follow. If you'll notice, most of them say in there that you have your own answers. They're inside of you. Mm-hmm. They are.
Yeah.
And this allows you to do that. And when you come to that conclusion, even though it's in the subconscious mind, and then we bring it to light into the conscious mind, you're like, it empowers you.
Yeah.
You are now an empowered being because you know what you need to do and you figured it out on your own. I just guided you to the process.
Yeah.
And making people feel empowered is, I think, a beautiful purpose. Yeah. And that's what I really love doing. I love it when that client lights up and they're like, I get it. And it doesn't mean that we don't still work on things. I'm still working on things. I still have, therapists that I call, whether it's the one I started with or other ones, just depending upon what their specialty is or where I feel like I'm really strong in. I still have regular sessions with somebody else. I don't just do my own self-hypnosis because I think it's empowering for myself and others to allow people to support you.
Yeah.
And you can do that in talk therapy. You can do it using hypnotherapy and using a combined method. But I do know there is research out there that shows that talk therapy, it'll take you around 600 sessions to feel recovered on a given topic compared to 6 sessions of hypnotherapy of the same topic.
Wow.
38% recovery rate versus a 93% recovery rate in hypnotherapy. It can deal with anything. You can deal with anything from removing traumas to money mindsets to relationships. Why do you always have a crappy relationship? Maybe it's not always the other person. Let's just say that. There's a common factor in all of them. In my past, one it was me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And it's just, that's how I got, I guess it was a really long way of telling you that's how I got started, is because it had such an impact on my life. I really wanted to go to school and I wanted to learn how to do this so I can help other people realize there's other ways, and you can use multiple ways at the same time. Because with my clients, I will do emotional freedom technique with them, which is the tapping. I'll do hypnotherapy with them. And we also do mindset work, some cognitive behavioral therapy kind of work with that in theirs too. Because I think there's so many beautiful methods and you need to find what works for that person.
Yeah.
And put everybody in a box.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I'm finding as I've been interviewing people is one way of healing has been different for someone in what I say the same situation. So like we'll say addiction. They all though approached recovery different. Although the subject of addiction was the same, they all had a way different way of getting themselves healed and recovered from it. And I was like, okay, like this isn't one size fits all. Now in my world, I've counseling. Like that's what I knew. That is what I did when I got out of my 11 plus year of mental narcissistic abuse. A counselor was what I seeked out because that's really all I knew. And I tell people, you mentioning the whole, you have to get your mind right and you take care of your mind. I tell people, because there is that, you must have problems if you see a counselor. Oh, no. You don't know the problems I would have had if I didn't go see my counselor.
You just covered all. We all have an issue to deal with.
Yeah.
Something. Even if it's just like today's stress. How do I deal with this in a healthy way? Honestly.
Yeah. I will say my counselor gave me coping mechanisms that have helped in all aspects. But I have seen her off and on for 4 years. And I started once a week because I was that screwed up, went to every other week, went to once a month. Now I go on what I call maintenance, and that's just something bubbles and I'm like, okay, I need to go see her. Or in my new relationship with Marty is I'm realizing there are triggers in places I didn't even know existed until it happens. And then I'm like, oh.
Yeah, you're like, I thought I already dealt with that. And that's what I love about hypnotherapy is it's like, I look at it as house cleaning because you deep cleaned your house and then you went and sat down in the recliner, finally going to have that cup of tea or whatever you enjoy. And you look at one cobweb up there and you're thinking, how the hell did I miss that?
Yeah.
And then, but that's the same thing with us. It's like we think we deal with it, and we do on a level.
Right.
But then there's those deeper levels. And that's like when you get in that subconscious mind, that theta brainwave state, which is right before the sleep state.
Okay.
Yes, I talk with my hands a lot.
That's right.
Yeah. But, your alpha state's where we're at right now. We're alert. We're awake.
Right.
Then you go into the beta state where you're kind of daydreaming.
Mm-hmm.
Theta state's like right under that. It's like you're not really daydreaming, but you're not asleep, but you're very relaxed. And that's what I love about it. I've had clients go, do I have to come out of it when you're counting me up? And I said, unless you want me to charge you by the minute after. Yes. Because it's so relaxing. You wake up and you're like, but for me, that was like sessions of, and I've had clients tell me this, like I did so much therapy in that one session that's taken me how many weeks to get through just in talk therapy, because we can't our way through it. It's like fitness is kind of always a good example. You can't will yourself to be motivated.
Right.
Okay, what is keeping you from being motivated? What is, why do you keep self-sabotaging? Well, there's something in the subconscious mind is making you do this. You probably aren't even aware of it. Yeah. And it could be something you're like, well, why in the world would that even be causing me to do this today? You have that answer. There is no, straight line A to B here, but it's there. It's in the subconscious mind, and it can be fixed in one session, or it may take many. And then by the time you do a few, you're like, I think I need to keep doing this because there's a lot of stuff I want to clear out.
Yeah. So if I was thinking, this may be a path for me, and I came to you and said, okay, I'm 4 years removed from an 11-year narcissistic abuse relationship. But I think I'm in a really good place. I have these few small things. What does the process look like with getting started for you?
Well, I would ask you, what is your goal? What do you want? What do you really want? And why do you want it? Because your why is very important.
Yeah.
I can really want to lose 20 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
If my why is not strong enough, I'm probably not going to follow through.
Right.
So, I will have you tell me what your goal is, what your why is, and then I'll give you a scale of, say, 1 to 10, 10 being the strongest. This is absolutely life altering. 1, if it happens, it happens. Give me a number of what that looks like for you. How bad do you want this?
Yeah.
And I would set you up. We do a session. Usually the first session takes about 90 minutes because I take a lot of time on the first session to make sure you fully understand what hypnotherapy is and what it is not.
Yeah.
And I also fully want to understand all your concerns about hypnotherapy. I also want to understand your concerns of your goal and what you're wanting to achieve here. And I want to make sure you understand your why. How strong is your why?
Yeah.
And why I say that is because an example I've heard in the past, a client, there's an elderly woman that kept having issues, physical issues. And they were actually, as the psychological mind can create you in physical issues. Well, her kids would come see her every day.
Okay.
So which was worse? The potential that her children would stop coming to see her every day, feeling physically good, and maybe, living a longer life. So which why is stronger for her? So it's not always as straightforward as you think, as, something like that. That is a very strong reason not to do it. And that's something else I'll ask you to do. What is a good reason for you not to want to reach your goal? What do you have out there why you would not want to?
Yeah.
You need to recognize that.
Yeah.
And then we actually go into the session, to get you into the theta state. And then there's different types of therapies from there that we do in the state, the theta state while you're there. And suggestions will be created. They're very specific for you. We call them Hypno Affirmations. So everybody's heard of affirmations of I am loved, I am blah, blah, blah. Right. They're like that, but not. So kind of an example of one I might put is daily I am becoming stronger and stronger in who I am. Or, every day in every way, I am making an effort to build the life I want. So it's very specific to you.
Okay. So there's this stigma you brought up. You see it on TV. You think you are going to be the person that's doing the crazy whatever and throwing out whatever and running down the aisle of the whatever, like crazy. And most people are like, nope, not losing that kind of control. So what do you tell to the naysayers or the people that that is their only way that they know about hypnotherapy, right or wrong?
Here's the thing is, hypnotherapy is all about what you want. If you don't want it, it's not going to happen. And that's why on the front end, I really want you to understand your desire here, your desired outcome, because I cannot make you do anything you don't want.
Yeah.
So that being said, think about that. Say you're in a Vegas show and the hypnotist is up there and they're like, I need volunteers to come up here. Well, what are those people doing? They're raising their hand going, I want to go. They know what happens in those shows. Mm-hmm. They know they're going to be asked to do stuff that's really stupid. Mm-hmm. Right? But they usually start out with something, say there's 5 people up there. They usually start out with something easy, like play a band instrument. Well, everybody will do that. They're okay. Their inhibition level's good with that. They'll play their instrument. Then the next one is, usually cluck like a chicken. That's my favorite for people to ask. Actually, my 10-year-old niece asked me, will you please make me cluck like a chicken? I'm like, no, I will not. But if you'll notice, out of those 5, a lot of times, like at least one person will come out of their hypnotic state and be like, I am not clucking like a chicken in front of hundreds of people here. And what they do is they kind of discreetly pull them off stage. Mm-hmm. And then usually the next one is, dance like a pole dancer, do that. And that's usually kind of like the last one that they try again. You don't dance, you dance like an exotic dancer. And usually 1 out of the 5 will do it. Mm-hmm. But there's levels of things that you're not willing to do. Yeah. And it's also trust your hypnotherapist. Trust the person you're working with, whether it's talk therapy or hypnotherapy. You need to have that relationship with them that you trust who you're with. And it is my responsibility to make sure you understand that anything that you say to me is confidential. I would never judge you, even if you tell me that you really want to be a green man from wherever, I'm not going to judge you. This is whatever is said, and it's okay. It is okay.
Yeah.
But it's my responsibility to make sure you trust me. And even if there is a conversation that's coming up in session and it's starting to, in your subconscious mind, you can feel that area that's like, that's a little uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. You're going to know if you're ready to talk about it or not. I can't make you.
Yeah.
You have 100% control. And besides, if hypnotherapists had that much control, we would be billionaires and hired by every ad agency in the world.
True. That's true. So with COVID, has it been harder to do your job because now you're having to do some of it a little more virtually and not like directly in person?
I do all mine online. I was doing mine online before COVID. I had a couple of clients I still saw in person, but then of course during COVID we've moved, and at that point I'd already decided I was not going to be doing any more in person anyway. And that's not because I don't care to have that common but you can have a connection with somebody on a FaceTime and a Zoom. And there's some people that don't want to do that. They just do it over the phone. And that works perfectly well. I've had it done for me that way. But I wanted to allow flexibility to people's schedule. They don't have to worry about driving to an office somewhere. Yeah. They don't have to. And then plus, when you're finished with a session, you are so relaxed. I wanted you to be able to just hang up and you sit there and enjoy it, because for about the next 15 minutes when your session ends, you're still in theta. You're still observing everything. And I want you to have that opportunity to sit back, take a deep breath, and just soak in everything you just learned, everything you just transformed in your life.
Yeah.
And not have to worry about getting in the car and going to stop at the grocery store and do XYZ.
Yeah.
So I very shifted my business to online, and I'm so glad I did. Like I said, I really believe it creates flexibility for people, and it allows them to really enjoy the theta state longer.
And I feel like for the people that do hesitate, like what am I going to do? The stupid things. Well, if you're in your own home, the stupid things are going to be contained to the walls that you already probably do stupid things.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, come on. We've all done stupid things in our own home because no one else is watching. So,
call them all stupid signs. It's just fun. Yeah. It's party in the living room sometime midday just to shake out that energy and just kind of like feel re-energized. That's not stupid. It's just fun.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let me see what. So you mentioned that if people don't want to do it, or really like they're holding themselves back, that it won't happen. So with that, I would assume not everyone is truly a candidate for hypnotherapy. Is that an accurate statement or not?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Really, there's only two types of people that really should not do hypnotherapy. And I think they really should stick more under the psychology aspect of things. That kind of are people who have autism struggle a little more to get into a theta state. So maybe some on the spectrum that can. I have not had the opportunity to test that theory, but that is what I've been told by people that have been in the business a lot longer than me. And then people that are already disassociated from reality. So if they have a mental diagnosis where they are already disassociated, hallucinates and those sorts of things on a normal basis, they would struggle a little more. Not that they can't get in theta state, but then what is reality and what is not for them. So it's really, I don't know that I would be doing them a justice by trying to help them in that way.
Okay.
But everybody can go in. Think about it this way. You watch a movie or a TV show that you're really interested in and you're zoned out, you're in theta.
Huh.
Have you ever driven? Huh?
I do that more frequently than I would like to admit.
Yeah. And have you ever driven from Willard to Springfield and be like, I don't remember passing the Chestnut Expressway exit?
Or did I stop back there? That's what happens to me. I'm like, did I stop at that 4-way? Because all of a sudden I'm here.
Exactly. That's called highway hypnosis. You are in a theta state. So that's what I mean. It's natural. We are naturally in and out of that theta brainwave state all day long, every day. And it's very crucial. And I'm really trying to tell my son this all the time since he has a 1-year-old. For the time a child is born till they are 7 years old, they are in constant theta. So when you say children hear everything and repeat it, yes. And they are absorbing everything.
Yeah.
It's very important what we expose them to.
Which is why, the childhood trauma thing is such a thing. My sister adopted. So I have a nephew and a niece that have been adopted, fostered to adopt. And I've had to learn some things because we got Jada when she was, I say we, my sister, the family, when she was 1. And as she started getting a little older, I mean, she's only 7 now, so it's not like she's old, but as she started getting older, there were things that were coming out, and Amy took her to play therapy and stuff for them to say, she's holding on to some trauma. And I'm like, we got her at 1. Like, what kind of trauma could she have held on to? Like, in my mind, that's the only thing I could relate to because I don't have memories from before like 7 or 8 for me. Now, some people, like my son, he has random memories at like 3. I'm like, oh, I don't even know. And so I'm learning that that's a thing, that they hold on to the stuff that they don't really know they're holding on to, but it has created triggers on other things that when it happens, we're like, "Whoa, wait," you know,
Yeah.
it's a thing.
It's very much a thing. And even like in the womb, children know what's going on. And I say this like even before I knew anything about hypnotherapy, when I was pregnant with my son, I would watch the same show every day.
Hmm.
And I noticed after he was born, he's on his tummy laying on the blanket, the show came up and he'd look up at it every time. And I was like, strange. But it is. So what you're saying, when say you're pregnant and you have this child and you weren't ready for it, you didn't want it, that child knows.
Yeah.
It may not remember, but what you will notice as the child grows up, that mother and child will have like a tense relationship the whole time, and it's underlying stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's where, I don't like people thinking I'm parent bashing. I'm not, because we only know what we know.
Right.
We, our parents raised us a certain way. Their parents raised them a certain way. And generational crap gets passed on. But in hypnotherapy, you can stop it.
Yeah.
You can stop that generational stuff, and you can stop passing on the trauma. And children are wonderful to work with. You can work with kids.
Yeah.
You
hear a lot about breaking the cycle of addiction, breaking the cycle of abuse, breaking the cycle of the welfare-minded kind of thought process.
Mm-hmm.
So is it important then to do therapy or anything by a certain age to try to break that quicker, or really have it broken before they start kind of their adult relationships and those type of things?
I think if they can, the sooner they can do it, the better, especially if you're noticing anything, because they may not even notice those triggers until they're an adult. They may not know that they have relationship coping mechanisms that are not healthy until they're in a relationship. Mm-hmm. They knows what's going on with mom and dad, and they assume this is normal, right?
Yeah.
I think working with kids it's an amazing thing. And especially if you don't know their history.
Right.
That's a great thing to do. Take them, let them see how they're doing. And children are, they are a neat bunch to work with. I've had a few that I've worked with, but there's so much work that they can do on that level, but here's what I do want to caution anybody is make sure the child's ready to work on whatever's going on.
Okay.
Because you bring a child to me and if the child don't care, they may want to do therapy. That's fine. They may not want to work on the goal you want them to work on. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to do what's in the best interest of the child.
Yeah.
So I don't want to waste the parent's money. If the parent says, you have to really work on this attitude or whatever it is, and that child don't care to do that, it's a waste of your time. Because like I said, this is about what the client wants. Okay. If they don't want that outcome, it's not going to happen, and it's a waste of your time and money. So if you're willing to say, yes, this is what you want, but let's work with whatever they want. And this may be a starting point for them. And then they dive into that later because they realize, okay, I'm feeling better because of my sessions. Then I'm game for that. But even if it's a spouse, if your spouse smokes or your partner smokes and you want them to quit, so you buy them a session to quit smoking, if they don't want to and that's something they really enjoy doing, it's not going to happen.
Got it. So you can change the programming if you truly want to change the programming.
Yeah, absolutely. You really can. And it doesn't, and when it comes to programming, there's layers to that programming, as you well know. Like there's things that you're like, okay, I've really programmed. I'm adjusted. I have grown so much. But then that thing happens. Maybe it's a smell. And you're like, oh, why is that still bringing something back?
Yeah.
And then you try to go down that path again of self-sabotaging yourself and criticism because you're like, I should have already dealt with this. And you start beating yourself up again. No, remember, we've dealt with this. Now this is just a new layer. That's all it is. Just a new layer. Let's figure that out. Let's go clean house and move on.
Can I get Marty a session for this?
Only if he wants it.
He's standing right here, but we have had this discussion because we both came out of relationships that had different programming. So his programming for a long time and mine were different. And we've now had to learn to readjust those and kind of call each other out a little bit on like, whoa, like that's your past life. And it's both ways. And so when you're talking about that, I'm like, yep.
Exactly. And like, Rick has, said something at a time or two, and I'm like, and I'll just be honest with you. I'll be like, here's the thing. I want you to realize this is how I'm feeling right now. I fully am aware that this is not your issue, but I want you to understand this triggered me, and that has just made it realize there's something more that I need to work on. So I would appreciate your patience while I'm doing this, and I am in no way trying to take it out on you. It is nothing against you, but I do want you to know what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling this way. But I don't, because if I'm withdrawing, trying to deal with it, I didn't want him to think I was pulling away from him.
Yeah.
Because I'm not. So it's learning that communication. And when you do have that partner that you can openly communicate and say these things, then it makes tremendous amount of help. It really does.
We, coming from past relationships, we set what we call our relationship pillars. And we basically said, like, these 4 things, there's no swaying on. Like, these are, you don't get around them. These are what we're going to do. And we had an instance actually this week where he got overwhelmed about several situations that kind of stacked all in one day. And he was withdrawn. He was honest to say, like, I am so overwhelmed. And, luckily me being intuitive enough, I gave him space. I still hugged him goodnight, kissed him goodnight, but I let him just do. And I think sometimes we have spouses that push and push and push. And if those people, you're saying like they're not ready to have hypnotherapy, if they're not ready to change at all, that becomes a fight.
Yes.
Period. And so luckily, I've had enough counseling to go, okay, he just needs space. He is just patient enough with me to go, oh, she needs a lot of space.
But that's also where it comes in. It's like, okay, you recognize this, but that's where you have to make sure your triggers, your insecurities from old things don't come up and go like, oh, is he wanting to leave me? Is there something going on? Is he cheating? Is he doing blah, 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 blah? So your old stories. And that's where you just start, okay, how far do you push? How far do you just kind of give them the space that they need and realize that you're doing it for them and not allowing what could potentially trigger you to kick in?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So are you taking new clients? Are you looking for people that are wanting to try this out?
Yes, absolutely. I work nights and weekends.
Okay.
Is when I do. So usually 4:30 is the earliest appointment that I take on a weekday. Weekends, I tend to work usually earlier in the day. So yeah, I am taking them. They are online. So it'll either be a Zoom call like this, or if the person's more comfortable on just a phone call, I do that. And so I'm doing one-on-one. I do packages because, people, they're like, I'll just try one. Well, do you really want to make the change or do you not? And I want people that are, hell yes, I'm ready to feel empowered. I'm ready to heal my trauma. I'm ready to live a life with limitless possibilities. And, because I want them to really have that. I want them to feel empowered. And if you're coming in just kind of like half like, well, maybe we'll see, I do look for a commitment, probably a longer commitment than some. There are some therapists out there that will do one session here and there. But I do packages is what I do. And they're usually, I do a 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, and a 1 year long package is what I do. And you get one session a week. And they're about an hour to an hour and a half each, depending upon what you need in your space. And then the more packages, like the longer duration that you work with me, I will incorporate other things. So If you are, because I give you self-hypnosis,
Okay.
a script to work off of, so that between our sessions, you are doing your own hypno affirmations that's completely customized to you. That comes with no matter how many sessions you get with me. So I will send that to you. But if you do say a 6-month session, I'm going to pre-record it for you. And I will give you up to 2 different ones, because during that time frame, your hypno affirmation is going to change. If we're working together for 6 months, they're like, okay, well, man, we cleared that one up really quick. We've got more time. Let's work on this. Let's really just work out what we can and clean out. Like I said, when you're looking at growing as a person, self-development never stops, especially if you're self-aware and you're trying to be a self-leader and you want to always be continuing to grow as a person, because there's always something new that we can learn about ourselves to make us a better person for the people around us, what we can do to improve, to help lift other people up.
Yeah.
So there's always something. But yeah, if you're here for the 6 months, then I pre-record up to 2 sessions for you and we'll send it to you.
Okay.
And then if you're a year, I'll give you up to 4 of them. And then any group programs that I run throughout that year, you automatically get in them free of charge.
Okay. So is it recommended for people to do a minimum of like 4 sessions to even know that they're hitting the right spots and they're starting to let their guard down? Because that first session, their guard is probably still up and it's not going to be quite as effective as maybe everybody was hoping. Do you suggest at least like a 1-month minimum to be really effective?
I do. And I do a one-on-one, very rare. That's what somebody just absolutely says, I just don't know that I can commit to more than that. I will do 1 session. But then after that, I really would ask for a longer commitment. And I think a 1 month would give you a really good idea of, how you're going to feel about this and how you're going to feel working with me. Because the first session too, it's really about knowing, how do you like working with me? Yeah. Do you like my style? Do you like the way this is ran? Because every one of them are customized. Maybe you just like, I want to ease into this. I'd rather do a group program. I'm planning on running another group program middle of February. But those are not customized to that particular client. They're going to be about a specific topic.
Oh, okay.
And so the group programs will be about a specific type of topic. And that one I'm going to run on, it's going to be about, us really understanding our goals. What do we want? This is the time, most people are thinking about their goals and how they want to, not a resolution, but someone help you understand those differences and how you can use hypnotherapy to get through those things, those various, whatever your topic is, it can everything flow under a general topic with us. So that's going to start the middle of February when I'm going to do that. Okay. So if people are okay with the environment, and it'll also be like a Zoom call.
Okay. So we will make sure that we get your general information in the description of the video or the interview. We'll attach just whatever you want. If there's a website, your social medias, whatever you want to attach, we will definitely do that so people can get a hold of you and, just reach out if they're ready to try something new and different. Maybe talk therapy hasn't worked very well for them, or trying it on their own.
Those self-help books that you never finish reading. I've got those myself, so I'm not judging.
Everybody tries it at some point on their own, and they may clear up like one small thing. But if you ever went to any other type of therapy after that, you realize you really didn't do much.
Well, and I think part of that too is people were embarrassed to ask for support because we think it's seen weak. And that's what I really want people to understand is you are more strong for asking for the help, for asking for support. I am in a mindset, a mastermind that I am in, and I'm in there with these women every day, and I get triggered every day by somebody's success, somebody's this, and they're doing that. And so, but it's lifting me up and I'm asking for support. Yesterday, I finally had to ask for support on something, and we talked about it completely different. She popped in, she goes, what do you need support on around this? And I realized I was struggling asking for support. It doesn't mean wrong with me. I just need to feel supported in this area. And I think if people can get that, mental health is about being supported, about fixing things. We need to be supported in who we are so we can grow.
Yeah, I completely agree. We interviewed, which we sent you the video, the eating disorder expert. And, one of the things she talks about was having support of friends, family, whatever, because as you go through eating disorder behaviors, there's really this gas line of a whole bunch of issues that are being fueled below it. It's not the eating disorder, it's the trauma that caused it, your emotional, attachment to food. I bored eat, trying to cut the ties of that whole boredom thing, and not really boredom, but like I could be just doing mundane tasks. And then I'm like, I feel like I need to add this in for stupid reasons. I don't. And so she has talked about support, my counselor, like find your support system, because I'm going to see you once a month, and now on maintenance, I'm going to see you maybe once every 3 months. So like you've got to have people in between to support you. Very similar to this. You've got to have people that are willing to have your back.
They have to be willing to support you. And it's not always the people you think they are, because sometimes those people are your triggers.
For sure. Yes.
But it's okay, so now I need those people that are going to support me in a loving way, but allow me to grow in the way I feel I need to grow, not the way they think I need to grow. So you have to be able to set those healthy boundaries too with that support.
That's so hard. Boundaries are hard.
That is something I work on continually in my own life, but, I've had many clients do it. And, my clients that I've worked with so far, we've worked on everything from really being tapped into their spirituality. I had a client that is obese, and she, has done amazing strides with stop self-sabotaging, sticking to her routine, the routine that works for her. I'm not telling her how to eat and how to exercise.
Yeah.
I'm working on the mindset aspect for her. And, find that support system you need there when you're not working with me.
Yeah.
It's not going to self-sabotage. But then when she brings up those things that she thinks is supporting her, it's my job to point out how they're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have those kind of tough little conversations about, do you really feel that person is supporting you in this way? If they were, what would that look like?
Yep. I feel like as a woman, it's harder for me to set boundaries than I see men set boundaries. And I think it's because we don't want to come across as these cold-hearted, and I don't know if it's that just stigmatism of the whole male-female difference. A man does it and they're like, oh, they're strong. And a female does it and they're just what. And so finding the right ways to set boundaries, I think, is highly important, especially from a female perspective.
It is. And that's something that even in the corporate world, we focus on, because I have my day job. I'm a business analyst. And they, we discuss like how in a meeting, a man can come out and say, well, this is my opinion, this is this and that, right? Mm-hmm. You think, oh, that's a great idea, Bob. Yeah. Okay. Now, if I spoke up in the exact same tone, exact same manner, it'd be like, wow, Stacie's being kind of a bitch today.
It's true.
Yeah. But no, and I can still be authoritative, but I shouldn't have to candy coat. I should not have to kind of pull back a little bit, because you're going to be triggered by me.
Right.
Because that's not my intention. My intention is not to trigger you. My intention is to give this really great idea out there to the masses so that they can move with it, modify it, do whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's where women, we have to realize too, that they're the ones that are being triggered, not you.
Right.
And you shouldn't have to pull back who you are, pull back your shine to make other people comfortable, because your intention is not to come out here and just be in your face with this rebellious, hey, this is me and you're going to like it or not, like you would when you're 13,
Yeah.
But that's not the intent behind it. And people do recognize the intent behind it. So those that are triggered, they're the ones with the issue and not you. And so that's where it's important for us as women to realize it's okay to be me.
Yeah.
It is okay to be who I am. And if people can't accept and love that, then those aren't my people.
Yeah, it's true. Well, to end, do you have any advice for people that are just kind of ready to seek out something new?
I think be open-minded. Be open to your own growth, whatever that looks like. And don't assume it has to look a certain way.
Yeah.
Don't assume that I can only do X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm.
And don't assume that I say, really just drop the assumptions. Look into things yourself. Be open. Reach out. Get the support. Don't think that focusing on your mental health or your self-development is even selfish. Honestly, you're doing a disservice to other people by not working on yourself. Because when you feel empowered and you're open to grow in whatever way God, universe, source feels that you need to grow in, the people around you are going to light up, and then you can become fully in your power. So just be open.
Okay. I want to thank Stacie for joining us today. Just a new perspective on the good old helping yourself type mentality. However you choose to do it, this is another resource that I'm so happy I can bring to our viewers and offer a different variety of approach. I'm just super excited that you were able to join us today. For everyone that's on this and watching or listening on the podcast, we just ask that you subscribe to our page. Continue on this journey. We have a lot coming up that's super great, from amazing stories to more experts. We're just super excited about what we're bringing to you in 2021. So just please go ahead and subscribe to whatever podcast or YouTube channel. We would just love it. So everybody, I hope you had a wonderful week. Have an amazing weekend. We'll see you next time. Bye.